All right, let's just jump right in. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating and frankly deeply unsettling piece of comic book history. We're looking at the 2012 miniseries Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. It was written by Cullen Bunn with art by Dalibor Talajic, and look, this is absolutely not your standard superhero story. It's actually the first part of what's known as the Deadpool Trilogy, and it takes the whole concept of a what-if alternate universe to its absolute darkest extreme. In this explainer, we're going to explore how one of the comic world's most beloved goofy characters transforms into the ultimate harbinger of doom.
Right off the bat, we have this tagline, "Because you demanded it." And man, that is just dripping with dark irony. See, this entire comic operates on a meta-critique. It's aimed right at comic fans who constantly clamor for more death, more blood, and more edgy content, just because they think it's, cool or badass. The creators are essentially holding up a mirror and saying, "Oh, you want a completely unhinged, violent spectacle? Fine, here it is. Let's see if you can actually stomach it."
I want you to really think about this for a second. What if everything funny about Deadpool was actually just disturbing? I mean, we all know the merc with a mouth, right? We love his quips, we love the fourth wall breaks, the way he talks directly to the audience. But what if you took that awareness, that very specific knowledge that he's just a fictional character in a comic book, and completely stripped away the humor? What if that realization didn't make him a quirky joker, but instead became a source of pure, unadulterated existential horror? That's exactly what happens here. We go from the Deadpool we know to a version fans call Dreadpool. Standard Deadpool is silly, he's surprisingly sympathetic, and he relies heavily on black comedy. Sure, he's violent, but there's a heart there. Dreadpool, on the other hand, he takes a massive leap into the monstrous. He becomes completely nihilistic, substituting dark humor for comedy that is so incredibly bleak and horrific, it's meant purely to shock you rather than amuse you. The character shifts from this lovable rogue into an outright villain protagonist.
So, how does this all start? Let's get into Section 1, Therapy Gone Horribly Right.
Every catastrophe has a starting point, and the sequence of events here is a textbook example of the nice job breaking it hero trope. Step 1. Professor Xavier and the X-Men decide Deadpool is just too unstable, so they commit him to Ravencroft Asylum under the care of a Dr. Benjamin Brighton. Step 2. Dr. Brighton attempts to brainwash Wade. Step 3. The procedure actually works, kinda. It silences the familiar, wacky voices in Deadpool's head, but here's the problem. Those were the voices that actually kept his morality in check. Instead, they are completely replaced by a single, brand-new, bloodthirsty voice represented by a crimson box on the page. Now, the dramatic irony of who Dr. Brighton really was is absolutely crucial here. He was actually the microverse villain Psycho Man in disguise. Psycho Man's grand plan was to use his position at the asylum to break the villains under his care and shape them into his own perfectly obedient army. He wanted to make Deadpool a more efficient killer. And while his process worked all too well, it backfired spectacularly, creating a completely untethered maniac who immediately decided his first order of business was a multiverse-wide killing spree. Which brings us to Section 2, a pragmatic killing spree. The sheer intelligence and brutal efficiency behind Dreadpool's massive death toll is terrifying. He employs strict combat pragmatism. Basically, he never fights fair. To take down the Avengers, he uses stolen pin particles to shrink a massive pile of explosives, literally hiding them right in their meeting room. For the indestructible Luke Cage, Dreadpool tricks him into ingesting microscopic bombs via his morning coffee, completely bypassing his tough skin. And Thor? Man, Dreadpool uses those same pin particles to increase the size of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, to massive proportions, right as it returns to him, crushing the Thunder God underneath it. He literally uses their own world and logic against them. He just continues to outsmart the heavy hitters rather than trying to outpunch them. Take the Hulk. Dreadpool just waits for the Hulk to tire himself out and revert back to Bruce Banner. Then he simply decapitates Banner while he sleeps, knowing full well Banner wouldn't have his healing factor active. As for Spider-Man, Dreadpool just shoots him point blank in the head. This actually plays on a meta trope where the comic writers seemingly forgot about Peter's spider sense, allowing Dreadpool to secure a fatal headshot before Spider-Man can even react. It's brutal. When it comes to the X-Men, Dreadpool outsources the setup to the psychotic villain Arcade. He forces him to build an incredibly elaborate, massive death trap that exploits all of the X-Men's specific powers against them. The results are so horrific that even Arcade, a literal supervillain, is reduced to a whimpering mass of tears. And for Wolverine, the only one who survives that initial trap, Dreadpool is perfectly prepared with a carbonadium blade. That's a highly specific metal that nullifies mutant healing factors, which allows him to cleanly decapitate Logan.
Then he scales things up to a cosmic level, and honestly, he does it with chilling ease. He manages to acquire the Puppet Master's dolls. First, he uses them to lure in and easily kill the Punisher. But then, without even having to leave Earth, he uses these simple children's toys to force cosmic entities like Galactus, Thanos, and the Silver Surfer to die. It's a classic Punch-Out Cthulhu moment. He is taking down godlike cosmic entities through terrifyingly simple, everyday means.
Now let's slow down a bit for Section 3, Method to the Madness. We have to ask, what is the philosophical drive actually pushing Wade Wilson to butcher his entire reality? Well, the source material defines his twisted motive as being a mass mercy killer. In his newly fractured mind, Deadpool realizes that everyone in his universe is a fictional character. He sees that their entire existence is just a never-ending cycle of conflict, death, resurrection, and tragedy. And it's all dictated by comic book continuity just to amuse us, the readers. So he genuinely believes he is saving his friends and enemies. By killing them, he thinks he's putting them out of their misery, freeing them from the constant suffering demanded by the authors and the audience.
This realization molds him into what's known as a straw nihilist. His signature fourth wall breaking, which used to be so fun, has evolved from a quirky superpower into a horrifying revelation of absolute truth. He and his friends are merely puppets on strings. Because nothing in his world is real, he believes that freedom from this existential horror justifies absolutely any act of violence. I mean, think about it. Morality is completely void when you realize you are just ink on a page.
If you want to understand just how heavy and maddening this truth is within the context of the story, look no further than Professor Charles Xavier. In a desperate attempt to stop Deadpool, Xavier uses his telepathy to probe Wade's mind. But the moment Xavier sees the universe through Deadpool's eyes, actually, scratch that, the moment he truly comprehends the sheer absolute nihilistic horror of being a fictional character created solely to suffer, Xavier instantly goes brain dead from the revelation. The truth itself is literally lethal. This leads us right into our final act, Section 4, Breaking the Fourth Wall. So, if the comic book universe is just a construct, then the true enemies aren't the heroes or the villains, right? Deadpool eventually turns his attention completely away from the fictional characters and sets his sights on the ultimate targets, the real world. In a truly chilling finale, Deadpool manages to transcend the medium of the comic itself. He steps completely outside the comic panel. We literally see him hunting the Marvel creative team in the real world. He approaches the writers right as they're sitting at a table plotting out the very comic we are reading, and he murders his own creators.
But he doesn't stop there. As the comic closes out, Deadpool turns his gaze directly out of the page. He looks right at you, the reader, and delivers this final, haunting promise: "I'll find you soon enough." The story turns the mirror completely around, making the audience the final target of his vengeance for all the suffering they've happily consumed as entertainment.
And that leaves us with one final, chilling question that the comic absolutely forces us to confront. Are you having fun yet? You see, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe isn't just an edgy slaughter fest. It's a direct challenge to our own thirst for violent media. It asks us to examine why we demand that our favorite characters be put through endless torture just for our passing amusement. It's a dark, brilliant deconstruction of the entire medium, and one you definitely won't easily forget. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.